Hi friends, welcome in, welcome in. It's Mindy with the Pink Llama. Happy hump day, happy Wednesday. Welcome to my segment on Craft Around the Clock. If you're seeing this portion, it's most likely the replay. Hashtag replay, let me know you're here. All the good things. Get on in here and say hello. Let me find myself here. All right. Hello everybody. Welcome, welcome. Get on in here. I don't even have my glasses on today, so hopefully I can see. There's my Tracy sister. Thank you for letting me go on a little early. Thank you for being here. Hello, Sweet Pat with Unique. Hello, Sue. Welcome, welcome. Hello, good morning, Stacy. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy hump day. How is everybody doing today? I hope everyone's doing well. Hi, Lori. All right, we're going to get started. It worked out perfect that I was able to go on just a few minutes early because we got a lot to get done. So last week when we did this cute little bunny, y'all requested that I show you. Hi, Liz. Hello, hello, Pat. Anyway, we did this cute little bunny last week, and y'all requested that I show you how I did them on the Bedspring. So we're going to do the Bedspring version of this today. And I've done a little bit of prep, and I've made this one quite a bit easier. I do have measurements. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut some felt, just some basic felt. I like to use a light color that kind of coordinates with the Sherpa that I'm using. So most Sherpa is, a wider cream color. So I'm going to use kind of a cream color felt, and I cut it probably, it's about 3/4 high, sweet. Oh my goodness. Hi, Sweet Robin. Hello, Bellamy Mercantile. So I cut it about 3/4 inches wide. I didn't cut it perfectly straight. That doesn't matter. You have your rusty Bedspring. Now, I can't stress enough to use a lower temp glue tool. Now, you don't want the super low where it dries on contact, but you don't want to burn your fingers because your fingers come in contact with glue quite a bit in this craft. I feel like it's my thing that's holding my shirt funky. So I'm taking my low temp glue and I'm just going to apply it right to the metal on my Bedspring. And I'm just going to do small sections. And then I'm going to take the felt and I'm going to wrap it around and squeeze it at the bottom. So you have something like that. And I'm going to continue to go around the whole thing real quick. And you want to make sure you get that good pinch at the bottom, because once that felt is glued, it won't come off. Like, it's on there. And the thought process behind this is I made, well over 100 of these last year for the little shop that I have a booth at. These sold like hotcakes, and I wanted to come up with a way that I could, because doing this with any other glue besides hot glue would be pretty hard. So hot glue works best. But with the products that I use, the fabrics and stuff that I use, I'm fairly confident that if they were stored, in an attic or a storage unit that wasn't cooled, they would still stay together fairly well. So anytime I'm making a craft, I keep that in mind. Is this going to stay together if it's put in a hot place. Looks like my comments have stopped. So how's everyone doing today? My camera is up so high and I don't have my glasses on. I can't see. Goodness. It is an absolutely beautiful day. So I do have a little excess here, and I'm going to overlap just a tiny bit. And then I'm just going to trim off the rest of my excess. And you're not going to really see this at all by the time we're done. I'm just going to make sure it's glued down pretty good. So that's what we have. And it does come down on the bottom, but we want that. All right. Thank you. Baby brought my glasses to me, so now I can see. He's amazing. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we're just going to set our bed spring aside. Anyway, as I was saying, it is an absolutely beautiful day here in Texas. It's been beautiful for several days. We did get a little rain over the weekend, but otherwise it's been pretty dang amazing. We've been out doing some yard work and all the good fun things. Hi Kim, how are you? Okay, so I do have measurement on, this is a 3-inch foam ball, and this is what I found to work best on the full-size bed spring. So you want it to not fall through that hole in the top of your bed spring, but you don't want it to be so big that it will fall over. So I found that the 3-inch works best. 3.5 would be fine. You could probably even go to 4-inch. Rainy there today. Oh no. I'm sorry you're getting rain today. We cleaned out flower beds. We planted some grass. We laid down some new dirt. We got our flower pots ready for planting. We've done so much. Hi Molly, Fox Designs. Hi Molly, how are you? All right, so this is about 8.5 by 8.5. You could even do 8 by 8. Fits best around your 3-inch ball. And I'm just going to, and I'm using the long pile Sherpa, but you can do it with the short pile. The short pile is not as forgiving. It's still super cute, but it's not as forgiving as the long pile and doesn't stretch as easy, but it still makes a super cute bunny. And I made a bunch with the short pile, but we're doing the long pile Sherpa. You can get it at Hobby Lobby. It's this extra furry long pile Sherpa. So I just stick my little ball in the middle. And then what I do is I just kind of pull it up, and mine is not cut perfect. I just kind of pull it up to make sure, you know, I'm going to be able to fit it all there. And you are going to have to do a little bit of trimming. I didn't cut mine very perfect. We were pretty busy, yes, but it was stuff that needed to get done. We cleaned up leaves. Oh my gosh, we probably have 40 bags of leaves we cleaned up. And we don't have a ton of trees in our yard, but it's all our neighbors' trees that blow the leaves in our yard. It's just crazy. All right, so I just start with one side. Now you're working with foam, so you definitely want to make sure, again, low temp. Low temp. And the long pile Sherpa, it looks like it's all, you know, fluffy and stuff, but the backing on it has, you know, little holes in it, so it does seep through. So I can't stress enough, low temp. So then I do bring up the other side. I work opposite sides. I do bring it up. Now it looks like I may not have cut mine perfect, but it's okay. It's all going to fold up and around and fill this in. And the good thing about Sherpa is it is so forgiving, because you can fill in those spaces and not even know that you had a crease or an edge there. See, that's all just gonna fit right up there. and be just fine. Now, if you weren't worried, and I'm really not worried about what the bottom looks like because you're not. Hi, sweet Lindsay, how are you? With Be Happy Cottage 1983. Miss Kim's in West Virginia also. So if you weren't worried about what your bottom looks like, you really very easily could just bunch it up and put some glue here on the bottom, like so. And then just kind of fold it over, because you're really not going to see the bottom of this. So if you trim it right and fold it over right, it's still going to look pretty nice and tidy. You just want to make sure you don't have big creases. That's what you're going for. So you're kind of wanting to pull it kind of tight, work with it for just a second. And then you just want to cut the backer of it. You don't want to cut straight through. And that's what I do anytime I cut Sherpa. I'm only cutting the backer. I never ever cut straight through, even if even if it's going to be in a spot that's not seen at all. I still don't, for one, because of the mess. You cut straight through, you're going to have one heck of a mess. And working with Sherpa, you're going to have a mess anyway. Y'all know I love working with Sherpa, but I have a love-hate relationship with it. I am doing great. The hubby is here. He started his new job yesterday, and we thought he was going to be gone all day, and he ended up coming home early and just doing, like the online class stuff, because they have so many classes in the field he works in. Tons and tons of classes they have to do. So instead of, just sitting at his work in a room, they just says, go home and do your stuff. So he came home yesterday and got to hang out with me and got his stuff done. And now he's home today, and we've got stuff to get done today. Oh, Miss Robin, it's really windy where you're at. It's I have such bad spring fever. Okay, so I think we're looking pretty good. I could trim it a bit more, but it is fine. I don't have, everything's glued down. I really don't have any creases or anything, so we're looking good. So you basically just cover your ball and try to make it look neat. Hi, Lori, how are you? Hi, Ruth. So I wish I could find, I will tell you this part, but we're going to use something else that will work. If you have floral pins, and this is what I like to use for this, is floral pins. But I couldn't find mine, and I know that I had some last year. And you think I can find them? No, because I rearranged my craft room and I can't find anything. So I'll show you an alternative to craft pins. So what I do here is I take, see, in doing this, you're going to find that you may have missed a spot. Don't worry, just go in and fill it in. Fold it over, no worries. But you want to brush all of your Sherpa down towards the top of your head. So you're working with the bottom. Where all of your edges and your creases are, that's going to be your bottom and go in here. You don't want that on the top. So that's going to go, your bottom is going to be where all of your edges met together. I have quite a bit of excess right there. I just need to trim. And you do, when you're working with Sherpa, I know cutting Sherpa, you can use just a, X-Acto tool, your razor tool, the word I can't say on here, or some really good fabric scissors. So again, we are just Lordy Lou. This is just part of the process, y'all. You're going to find little spots. That's just part of it. Because I didn't really glue mine perfect. So we are fluffing all of our fluff to the top of our bunny head. Then, next step is to take some glue and run it around that top side of that felt. And try not to get it to drip over the edge if you can help it. So all of my fluff is to the top of my head, and I'm going to take this and I'm just going to smash it right down on that glue. So this is what we have. And you could do the exact same measurements, the exact same everything on these bunnies, and you will get a different look on every bunny regardless. These bunnies just come out with their own little personality. It's just, they're so fun to make. Even though I made well over 100 of them last year, I still enjoyed it because they were so much fun. Thank you, sweet Kelly. How are you? So I'm pretty sure my glue is dry on there. So now we can just see, and you can fluff your fluff back down over that, and you can almost not even see the felt. So fun and so easy. So now I'm going to kind of turn it to see where I kind of want the front of my face. And typically I like this little thing, this little knot on the bottom of your bed spring. Typically I like that towards the back, but sometimes it doesn't always work that way. And sometimes your bunny's going to lean to one side. Sometimes it's going to, you know, lean back, lean down, whatever. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Whoop. So what you can do if you want to tack this down even more, and like I said, I like to use floral pins, but we're not going to, I'm just going to show you what I did. We're not going to go through that whole process because it does take a few minutes to do. We're just going to make our own little floral pin, but floral pins work best. So just take a piece of wire, you know, a couple inches long, probably 3-4 inches long, and kind of fold it in half like so. So you're almost like you're making a floral pin, okay? And then what I do is I flip my bunny over and I stick one side on the inside of the bed spring and the other side on the outside of the bed spring. And sometimes you have to push because you've got a little glue and stuff down there and you're going through fabric. And I would do this before you fluff your Sherpa or before you fluff your fluff back down. But you just, and the floral pins work better because they're a little sharper, but you can still do this wire and you stick that down in there and it's going to help hold it on as well. And then you just pull your fluff back down. And I do about 4 of them per bunny. So I do, you know, one in front, one in back, one on each side. And that will hold them on there. You can even add a smidge of glue on the bottom of those if you want to. But I'm going to go buy some more floral pins today because I'll find them right after. Hi, sweet Sheila. How are you today? So that's what we've got so far. We've got our Sherpa little ball on our bed spring and it's going nowhere. The next thing you do is, I like these the best. And these are the same ones we used on our little bunny we made last week. These are the 0.7 by 1.4, and they're just a half foam ball. You can get them at Hobby Lobby. Get them at Hobby Lobby. They're just a few dollars. Let me hold that up so you can get the little code off of it if you want to. But you just get these at Hobby Lobby. And these are going to make the little cheek. And I've already got my little squares cut. Now, my little squares are about a 3 by 3. And I'll show you that you can use your regular glue tool. But on this part, for my finger's sake, I like to use my little detail, my little pen glue tool. It's just a little Surebonder. You can literally get this thing anywhere. And I stick my little ball right in the center of my 3 by 3 square, okay? And what I do is I put just a bead of glue on the very back edge. Let me get up here and show you. On the very back edge of that little ball. And then what I do is I just fold over just a, I just fold my Sherpa around. So we're basically covering this. It's going to end up looking like this. But you want it to come around the back just a little bit. You will have a little bit of trimming to do, which is fine. But I just do this in sections as well. Hi, Lori. Hi, Lisa. Y'all doing good today? What y'all up to today? We're halfway through the week. Anybody have any fun, exciting plans? Who's ready for spring? Now you do want to pull this tight because you don't want any creases in the front. So you do want to make sure you pull it tight. And on the long pile Sherpa, it is going to look all messy and funky. Now you could put your cheeks on. You could put your cheeks on here before you cover it. And I did that last year, but I found that on this particular one, I liked the cheeks on the outside covered on their own. Now, it did turn out super cute on that one, but for some reason on these Bedspring ones and the way this little ball is, it just looked perfect on the outside. So I trimmed off my little bit of excess. Pull any knots or strings that you have. And you want to fluff it out so you can see the back of your foam ball. Now, I didn't get a second one prepped ahead of time. I got these ones prepped ahead of time, but then decided to use a different Sherpa. So let me just hurry and get this one on here quick. It doesn't take me long. I've got that muscle memory from doing so many of these last year. I would, when I was making them and my hubby was home, I would set all my stuff up out in the living room so I could hang out with him. And I would sit on the couch and we had an extension cord and everything for my, glue tools. And I have a little craft table, little rolling craft table thing that I take out there when I'm busy and have lots going on. But the hubby's home and I want to hang out with him. He got me this little rolling craft table for Christmas a couple years ago. I just load it up with everything I need and go out there, and there was fluff all over my living room last year. It was crazy. Okay. Just going to do a little trimming And again, it was like a 3x3 square to cover these. You could probably even get away with like 2.5 by 2.5. And you could even cut them in a circle if you want to. Just mess around with what works best for you. These little bunnies, they're very, very forgiving because the Sherpa, it hides so much. Whoops, I just pulled that right off. But low temp glue because you're working with foam and your fingers. So we're just going to set those aside and let that glue set up. Next, we are moving on to the ears. Let me put that away. Ooh, you almost got a show there. Okay. I like to use this wire. It is the 18 gauge aluminum wire. This is what I like to use for my ears. You can get this at hardware stores, Walmart, Amazon, anywhere. Miss Teresa, they are the 0.7 inch by 1.4 inch. The craft number from Hobby Lobby is 2480929. You just get them in the back where all of their foam stuff is. All right, my wire is approximately 16 inches long, and I've only got one. Oh no, I don't need another one. I already have one. So it's approximately 16 inches long is how long I do my wire for my ears. Same way as we did last week, I take my two ends and meet them together. And then, so, you know, you have even on both sides. And I just pull the center up to a point like that. And then, and this wire is kind of soft, so it's easy to work with and very pliable. So about an inch, inch and a half down, I start twisting the ends of my wire together. And my hands are so weak, and I have so many issues with my hands, so pliers do come in handy. So you twist them together, and then you want to make that twist, you want to make it straight, and the very tips, the very end, you want to make them straight too, because you want them like that, because we are going to be sticking that down through our foam. And then you just kind of form your little bunny ear, and it's fine if they don't come out perfectly the same. I've already got one made here, and you can see I've got more of a point on one than the other. But you can kind of, you know, put them together and make them kind of similar sizes. They don't stress about that. They don't have to be perfect because you're not even going to notice. So then what you do is you get your Sherpa. Let's take the one we just made. You get your Sherpa and lay it out. And then you lay your little wire bunny ear down. And I put mine, you know, kind of probably, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch from the edge, because you do want this to be able to, this first part, you do want it to be able to kind of fold over the sides of your wire just a little bit. And then I have right here, I have just like a pink little marker. It's kind of like a highlight marker that I use because I found on Sherpa that I haven't been able to find a fabric pen that will mark on the back of my Sherpa the way I like it to. So I just take this and I don't draw right next to, or I don't trace right next to my wire. I go out, like I said, about 1/8 of an inch, just enough so you're able to fold it over the edges. So I just roughly kind of trace out, yeah, about 1/8 of an inch or so. See what I did? Well, you really can't see, but it's just, I traced out enough away from the wire that I'm going to be able to fold this over my edge. So then I just cut my backer, and my smaller scissors have a pointier edge and work better. So I just cut right on that line, and I'm cutting the backer only. And don't worry about the pink on there, you're not even going to see it. But I cut right on that pink line that I just drew. Now, if you end up, you're going to end up making a lot of these, I strongly suggest making a template out of cardstock. That will help you a lot. If you're going to, hi Ruth, how are you? Especially if you're going to make all the ears the same size. So now I put my wire ear back down again, and this time we're tracing on the inside of the ear, and this one can be pretty much the exact inside. So this time you just trace on the inside of the ear, and Sherpa's forgiving and it does stretch just a little bit. And then on this one, I cut on the outside of that line that I drew, and you're not going to see it, and even if you did, it's pink, so it's going to work just fine. But I have never had an issue with this coming through and being seen on the outside. But you never know, today might be that day. Again, just cutting the backer. Now we have the inside of our ear. Now these bigger little pieces, see a piece like that, you could use that for more cheeks. So I saved that. All right, let's get our ear going here. So what I do is I stick my little wire right down just so I have it centered, so I have enough fabric to fold over the edges. And then I use my little detail glue tool here, and I start at the top of mine. I start at the top, and you're gonna get hair that pulls your glue everywhere. And then I just start folding over, and I'm just folding over the back. The backer, you want the fur of your Sherpa, you want it to still kind of stick out. So I'm just gluing down the backer only. Can you see that? Just the backer only, not the actual fur itself. So I'm going to hurry and get this. And you don't have to use the little detail glue tool on this part either. You don't need the detail glue tool on any of it really. It's just what I prefer. And you may have, a little bit more fabric on one side than the other. It's okay. Just get it folded over that wire. That's all you need to do. The most important part here is you don't really, if you do, it's not the end of the world. It'll be fine, but you don't want to glue down the fur part. You just want to glue down the backer part. because you want that fur to be able to fluff out. And I have quite a bit of excess on this one side, so I'm just going to trim it off, just the backer part. You don't want that much excess because it will get in the way. All right. And as I am folding this over, I am kind of, stretching it because you do want it to be a little bit tight, but you don't want to pull it so tight that you're going to see your wire through. And that's what we have. Okay. Let me hurry and get this. I'm going to let that glue or dry for just a second, and I'm going to get this one done because I didn't get this one done beforehand because I switched directions last minute. And this one, it looks like I cut a little short, but that's okay. We'll stretch it out. It'll be fine. It's the best part about Sherpa is how forgiving it is. And I know I keep saying that over and over and over. Oh, y'all are so sweet. I try to make it easy. Most everything I make is really easy to do. Anybody can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. But I try. Okay. Sorry, I'm having to stretch this one just a little bit. I didn't cut it right. So this bunny's probably going to have one ear that's a little bigger than the other, but you know what? I'm good with that. Because the way I usually, fold one ear down and bend the ear, I bend the ears in different ways. You almost never really can tell. All right, I'm going to let those dry for a second. We're going to go back to this one. So what you do, your bunny ear that you just glued around the wire, you wrapped it around the wire. You want to pull your fur out of the way. So pull your fur to the side out of the way, okay? And that's going to be my top. And then what you do is you just take your glue and glue it on the backer that's showing right along the edge, right next to that fur. Just take your glue, and I just glue it on the backer that I glued down right on the edge. And then you just take the inner part of your ear and glue it down. Now, I kind of make sure I tuck the edges of what I'm gluing down. I kind of tuck it under. I wish y'all were here in person so I could just show you. It would be easier. But I just kind of tuck the very edge kind of under as I'm gluing it, so I don't have any raw edges. And you won't be able to tell that these are two separate parts the way they glue down. Now, if you get some glue in your fur, just trim it off. It's not the end of the world. It's okay. So all I'm doing is just gluing her down and kind of tucking her under, and then you fluff out your edges. Make sure I got everything glued down. And the good part about using, me using that pink is when, I'm fluffing it out. If I see some of that pink that I traced with, I know I missed a spot gluing down. So then you just fluff it out. And now you have a bunny ear, and you can't even tell that it was two separate pieces. You can't even tell. Easy peasy. All right, I'm not going to glue that ear just yet because I want to make sure we get through to show y'all how I do this. So let me find, I think this is going to be the front of his head. So what I do is once I decide where I want my front, I'm taking my cheeks and I'm just going to eyeball. I'm going to set them up here and I'm going to eyeball and say, you know what? That's where I want my cheeks. So then I kind of twist them around and it's going to make little flat spots where you can see where you wanted them. So that's where I want my cheeks. So I'm going to take and flatten out and spread out that Sherpa the best I can. But the other thing I like to do, scissors aren't going to work. Where did oh, they're right in front of my face. I like to take a couple pieces of wire, about an inch or so long, just a couple pieces of wire, okay? And I like to put just right in dead center, I like to put a little dab of glue dead center. I've got Sherpa hair all over that's causing major glue strings. I put a little bit of glue dead center in there, okay? And I push that in just a little bit. Okay, I've got that hanging out. So then I'm going to take glue and I'm going to go around the inside edge of my cheek. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue up that wire. And I'm going to go back to where I flattened out my Sherpa. And I'm going to go ahead and stick that in. Now, your wire may come out the front just a little bit. Just push it in. It's fine. You're not going to see it because of that Sherpa. So that wire is going to help hold it internally and externally. Now you've got one little cheek. And I like my cheeks to be right next to each other. They're smashed up against each other. Like so. I know it's hard to see because of the Sherpa. So I'm going to take my glue out of glue again. Now we're not going to get like all the bows and everything on these, which is fine, but I'll give you the finishing part is whatever you want. So I'm putting just a little dot of glue in the center, putting my wire in, and then I'm going to take my glue and glue around the inside edge of my cheek. Then over here, make sure I've got a spot cleared. And I'm going right next to my other cheek so that they are smashed up together. And you can, twist your little cheeks around, move them around if you need to a little bit, because that wire you put in there is it's going to hold it, so they're going to be bendable. And okay, we've got our two little cheeks on, and I like to kind of push the fur down between the two so you can see the definition of them. Next, we're going to do our nose. And same nose as we used on the other ones. These little, they're the wool felt balls. I get them on Amazon. And I cut them in half. So you'll get two noses out of one. But you could use anything for the nose that you wanted to. And the nose is going to go right at the top center of the two cheeks. Like so. I'm not sure what size they are. If anyone is needing the size of these little felt balls, send me a message. Or when I post a picture, I can post the size, but I believe they're probably going to be about the 30 millimeter. So I just put glue on the back of it, on the back of one half of it, and I smash it down. And you want to make sure before you put your nose down that you're fluffing the Sherpa out. So you're getting this more on the back than you are on the Sherpa. And then once you've got it glued down, you can fluff your Sherpa back around it. And then I need to hurry and get this other ear glued because I need both of them at the same time. Your glue tool is going to get messy. And you're going to have string everywhere. But let me get this glued down real quick. I'm going to be quiet for just a second because I need to show you the ears and the eyes. And then it's done. Other than, you know, the finishing details, but I do them different on every single one. So on the boys, I will put a little bow tie. Now I do like to run something around, you know, whatever color of bow I'm going to use. So my girls, they'll get a little bow around their neck, but it won't look like a bow tie. And the boys obviously get a bow tie. The girls get bows up by their ears. But right here, you know, going around that felt, whatever color of bow I'm using around their neck, I just take about, you know, an inch of that fabric and make a little collar type thing. Just so you're most likely not even going to see that felt, but I cover it anyway just for my own peace of mind, and it gives you more of a finished product. So that's pretty much all y'all are going to miss, is just me putting on the blush and the bows. All right, now for the ears, I take both of my ears and I kind of hold them up here to see, you know, do I want them more to the side? Do I want them more to the top? This is where your little bunny kind of takes personality. So then I'm like, I like that spot right there. And I kind of just push them down. And sometimes it's hard. So what I'll do is where I have that wire pushed in, I'm going to hold my finger right next to it because I'm going to be able to feel that indent. I can feel that indent where it is. And I'm going to just take my scissors and I'm going to stick the tip of that scissor right in that hole where that indent was. And I'm going to take my glue tool and stick the tip of it down in there. and then just a little bit on the outside. And I'm going to stick my ear, if I can find, why can't I find the hole? I'm going to stick my ear right down in that hole. I'm going to hold it for just a few seconds. So you've got a little glue on the outside, but you've also got glue right in that hole. You don't want to put too much glue on the outside, because if you do, it's going to mat down your Sherpa. So same thing with this side. Right where my wire is, I'm sticking my finger there. With my other hand, I'm moving away the fur, and then I'm going to take the tip of my scissor, stick down in that hole, just, to cut it away so I can get my glue tool in there. And I put a little glue in the hole and a little on the outside. You want to hold your fur out of the glue. And then you just slide your ear down in there and hold it for a second. Now see, my ears are two separate sizes, but it's not going to matter, because one of them I kind of bend over a little more, and then this one I bend just a little bit. I more curve it, and that's how my ears look. Just like that. So next is the eyes. This one's a fun part. Where did I put them? I just get the doll eyes from the Hoblob. I don't get the smallest size. I get the next size up. And these ones are the brown that have a little bit of black in the middle of them. So what I do for my eyes is I just hold them up to the bunny, and I use the nose as my center. So sometimes I like, my eyes a little off. So I'm holding my eyes up on the bunny, and I'm just kind of eyeballing, oh, is that where I want them? Do I want them close together on this one? Further apart? So I use my nose and my cheeks as kind of a guide. And when I get them in a spot that I like, I just push. You're not going to get them to go all the way through, because you've got to cut that backing. Thank you, Ruth. So I've got one eye in there. You just push them in. All you're wanting to do when you're pushing on them is to get that little indent. And then the other one, when I get it where I want it, now if you mess up and you get one higher or lower than the other, it's okay. You've got the fur to hide that indent. All right. So when you're pushing one in, the other one's going to pop out, but it's okay. Then all you do is you go back and you fill for that hole that you made. You move your Sherpa out of the way, so you're getting just to the backing, and you take your scissors and you want to cut just the backing, and you're cutting just a little hole so that your eye can get through that backing. And then you take your glue and stick down in the hole and put some glue in there, and you want a little bit of glue to come out. Not much though. And then I just stick my eyeball back down in there, and then I fluff my Sherpa back around it. See? We're going to do the next eyeball again. You fill for your hole and then move your Sherpa out of the way so you can get to that backing. and then pump that glue in there. And stick your eyeball in. And then fluff your Sherpa back around. Now, if you need to trim some of the Sherpa because it's too long around your eyes or something, you can. I don't trim mine. I just mess with it and get it to move out of my way. Okay. And there's our cute little bunny. So, one more thing. We got to go. One more thing. What I use, and I get mine at Dollar General, and I like to use the LA Colors Natural Blush. This one's about gone. I do have another one somewhere. I think it's in a bag. I just bought it. This is what I use for the inside of the ears and the cheeks. So for the inside of my ears, I just take, you know, a little sponge brush, one of these little Dollar Tree brushes, and I just rub it into my Sherpa in the center of both ears. And you can add as much or as little as you want. And then for the cheeks, I do the same thing, but I kind of pat this on at first, like so. See, and then you get a little blush on the cheeks, and it'll be on both cheeks and both ears. So the only other thing I would do is, for a girl, I would put a bow up here, and then I would wrap a coordinating fabric to this. I'd wrap it around where I put that felt. You can even rouge it. And then I would put a bow down here, but for the girl, the bow down here, I would put some tails on it, so it would look more like a bow and not as much a bow tie. And then, you know, or even something like this that was a little bit more of a fancy bow with the tails is what I would put down here for the girl. But there you are, y'all. That's how you do the Bedspring bunny. They're very simple and they are so much fun. I'll get her finished up and I'll get some pictures taken. And this video is also going to be posted on YouTube. So thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. Please go catch the next creator. I did go over a little on my time, which I don't usually like to do. So please go support them. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send me a message in Messenger. But enjoy the rest of your day. Be blessed and stay safe. And I'll see y'all on Friday. I'm on Friday. So we'll see you then. Bye, guys.